Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Payoff Pitch. My name is Patrick Lewis here on a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. I'm here with freshman Joey Olberding. Joey, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great, Patrick, and I mean great. Today has just been splendid, and everything's just going well. How about you, Patrick?
I can't complain. The weather in Cincinnati has been absolutely phenomenal this past weekend. We had that big rainstorm on Friday. Remember that? It was like this tropical storm that came in.
I remember all too well, Patrick.
You too well? Did it impact you in some sort of way?
Yeah. It rained out a baseball game.
Your baseball game?
Yeah.
Was it an important baseball game?
Yes.
Oh man, was it? You sound pretty angry about it. What happened?
I mean, it was just I don't think it was Friday. I forget what day it was, but there was this really quick onslaught of rain that happened at our field. It was crystal clear, and all of a sudden rain came down for 3 minutes, super hard, and then it stopped, and we had to wait for an hour and a half for it for the field to be playable. But in the end, they still called it off.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
So you just chilled out and probably had some fruit snacks or something like that, maybe some milk. Is that what kids have nowadays? That's what I had when I was a kid.
Times are changing, Patrick.
What did you have? What did you just chill out with?
We just, I guess, chilled out. We tried out bats, and I don't know, we just did baseball things.
Baseball things. So when I was your age, when I was a freshman, or even before that in grade school, when we have rain delays and stuff like that, we would just hang out and eat fruit snacks and just act like kids and play around and whatnot.
Yep, that's pretty much what was happening. Yeah.
And then we had, after every game, a parent or somebody would come and bring post-game snacks.
Yeah.
And it was different every time. And you always had that parent that brought the best snacks, right?
Yeah.
And are your parents that parent that brings the best snacks?
I like to think so.
You like to think that? What do they bring?
Well, one time there was a doubleheader, and my mom brought Subway sandwiches.
Clutch.
Yeah.
That is pretty clutch. Instead of just having something like Cheez-Its from the store.
Yeah. No, Subway sandwiches,
That's legit.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, in some cases, if you watch some of these college baseball guys, I think it's very entertaining when they have rain delays. It's really funny. They do skits. Have you seen these things I'm talking about on YouTube or whatnot?
Tell me, Patrick.
So what they do, it's kind of funny. So my favorite one is when they do the bowling ball. So if you have a rain delay, what do they do, right? They're just going to sit in the clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
And these college guys was like, well, we're in college. We want to have a ton of energy. We want to just entertain ourselves. And what they do is they get out on the field. It could be still raining. It could be not. They could just be lightning delay or whatever it may be. And they have these different skits. And this bowling ball one is that they'll have players, in a formation of the 10 pins.
Oh,
right?
I know this.
And then they'll have one guy that just acts like he's the bowler. And then he'll bowl. And then one guy will act like the bowling ball. And then literally forward roll the entire way down in almost kind of like a curve fashion to an actual ball going into the pins, and they'll hit the pins, and they'll have something set up where 7 out of the 10 fall or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, then we have to go for a spare, and then he redoes it again, and skits like that are kind of entertaining for, especially in the social media days.
Yeah.
So you don't do anything like that, do you?
No.
No, nothing like that.
I wish I could organize something like that, but I just can't. That's too much preparing for me.
And no, it doesn't have any preparing to do, honestly. I remember when the softball team at Mount St. Joe, when I was doing PA, we had a very, very long rain delay for their doubleheader. And in softball and at Mount St. Joe, they always do doubleheaders. And so they were there for a while. And I was just kind of joking around with them. I was like, we just do something very, very similar, right? But it was lightning and it was pouring down rain, and they're just well, we don't really want to do. And I understand that. Some of it, you have to have a little bit just of drizzle to do it, but it's all good. But anyway, let's transition.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is easier than I'm saying. Maybe it's easier to organize. I don't know.
No, it's fun. It's just more spontaneous than anything else.
We should transition though. Let's actually get to the sports talk.
No, this is fun. This is good. I'm sure our listeners kind of enjoy hearing about some of this type of thing. And I love hearing about it from you too, seeing that your parents bring Subway sandwiches to your games, which is kind of fun.
It was one time.
Just one time. Well, now you need to tell them it's multiple times. Now they're on the hook. You realize that, right? Now it's public knowledge.
Well, now our baseball season's over, so.
Ah, bummer. Well, I mean, whatever sport is next, they got to do it. So let's transition to the Reds. The Reds are not doing so well. We talked a little bit about them last episode, and they haven't really gotten better. Joey, tell us a little bit about what they have coming up today.
Well, today they're facing the Brewers here in Cincinnati. I think that game is at 4 o'clock, and well, we'll see how it goes. The Brewers are still leading the NL Central. The Reds are still 5th in it because they've had I believe, 3-14 record over the past 17 games.
Yeah, that's good math.
It's not. They got swept by the Cardinals. They won one game in Tampa Bay, and they haven't really been doing well. So
yeah, they won against Tampa Bay, and they won just yesterday against the Brewers, which is, I mean, we can't. It's hard to watch. It really is. Like, is it their? I mean, you talked a little bit about in your payoff pitch last time. Their pitching, is it really their pitching? Because their hitting is not doing very well at all. I mean, they get swept by the Dodgers, and the most runs they score in one of their games was 7 runs, and you should win if you get 7 runs, right?
Yeah.
They didn't. They got beat 7-6 or 7-8. I'm sorry. And then, I mean, the other games, their max runs are like 3 runs that they score. I mean, it's not just their pitching; their hitting needs to get better as well. And who's responsible for that?
Well, like you said, Patrick, before getting into who's responsible for everything, it is hard to watch the Reds. I'll be honest. Last year, in 2016, when the Reds were even worse than they are this year, it was very hard to watch, and it was hard to keep up with everything in the major leagues because of how bad the Reds were. And, you know, I follow the Reds, obviously. And it just became a little tiring to see the Reds lose ball game after ball game because of their pitching or their hitting or whatever. Mm-hmm.
But they did have a winning streak. I remember a radio show we did. It was early June when they swept the Cardinals. And that gives you hope, right? You're like, the Cardinals, that's the best team to sweep. If you're going to sweep a team, sweep the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Because we all know that when you go on the West Coast, as a Reds fan, there's very little chance that you're going to do well on the West Coast. You change times, and it just affects them to some way. It just doesn't really happen for us. We're not successful on the West Coast. So we kind of already chalked that up as a losing streak, which they did. I mean, they were at L.A., they went to San Diego, then they play L.A. again, and they got beat. You know, but we kind of chalked that up, right? But then when you play the Nationals, I mean, Nationals got a good team. But they were in some of those games. They won one of those against the Nationals, and then the other 2 they lost. They got beat real bad by 15 runs, and then the other one was a 1-run game, which they could have won. They're not winning close games. And then when they don't, like when they get killed, I mean, by 15 runs, by 4 runs, by 5 runs, I mean, they need to win some of these close games to actually, you know, be competing. And let's be honest, our division stinks.
Everybody in the division's good. Everybody, well, maybe except the Pirates, but everybody in the division is good at least something. The Cubs, of course, are the Cubs. They won the World Series last year.
But they're 1 game above 500, Joey.
Yes.
1 game.
I know they're 1 game above 500.
They're panicking in Chicago.
And I love it. But anyways, they have the power. They have the youth. They have everything. They just need to get a bit more used to their situation that they might not always be amazing at everything. You know, we're not. What are we amazing
at? So you talk about the pitching that needs to help. The hitting obviously needs help. We had one bright spot in Scooter Gennett who had 4 home runs in a game, which was really cool. But outside of that, what do we got? I mean, Mesoraco needs to come back, right?
Yeah. But I need to tell you something.
Tell it to me.
We have hope. We do have hope. We have hope everywhere. Our pitching. Everybody's injured pretty much, but when they come back, they're gonna be good. We have Disco, who I don't know.
Discofani, you mean?
Yeah.
Disco, is that his nickname?
Yeah, but I'm not sure when he's coming back.
Well, right
honestly.
now it's Panic at the Disco. That's what's happening. You like that?
I'm just gonna ignore that and move on.
It's okay. I'm a pun guy.
Homer Bailey just came back, and we have good.
He got
hitting.
rocked though. Homer Bailey. Didn't he just do a start and got rocked? Wasn't that the 15-run loss against the Nationals? That's the game he pitched, wasn't it?
Might have been, but
so that's hope. Yeah, clearly.
I'm just saying, you have to remember that we're rebuilding right now.
You're right. You're right.
We have good enough players so that you could be convinced that we aren't rebuilding right now, but we're totally rebuilding right now. We have good young players, Suarez,
Mhm.
Hamilton, guys like that, Peraza.
Do you think Hamilton's going to be here?
Yeah,
You think so?
yeah.
He's not a hitter.
No, he's not, but he's got the speed. We've seen his speed. He's
What are you
really
gonna,
fast.
Yeah, but that's great and all. I mean, you're going to get that kind of contribution, maybe like 1/16 of the season. Like he's valuable, very small percentage of the season if he can get on base, right? If he can get on base, heck yeah, put him in the one spot. But you look at the Cubs right now, and Madden's doing a really good job of putting Rizzo in that top spot, right? That leadoff.
Well, Madden's always good at doing crazy things and making them work.
But it's progressive.
Yeah, it is progressive, but you still have to know that, the same strategies that apply to Joe Madden don't work for the Reds.
Well, I think that's because it's a different team, but why can't Brian Price think of something different? I mean, why? I mean, it wasn't Schebler just starting in center field just the other day?
Yeah, and the Reds do have a very interesting bullpen situation, to say the least, because, you kind of have to get desperate when your pitching is as interesting as it is. That's a good way of putting it.
So what's with their bullpen? Why is it bad, or what? Why is it interesting?
It's interesting because there's no designated closer. They have a lot of like starting pitchers that are in the bullpen. Guys like Lorenzen, guys like Cingrani, because the Reds know that their pitching is not good. So when a pitcher like Homer Bailey or any pitcher really for the Reds has a bad outing, they throw one of those guys out there and they either do well or they do terrible.
So it's like a preventative plan rather than a progressive plan. Because instead of like helping out their starters and saying, "Hey, Feldman, you need to do this, this, and this to switch your delivery up," and make sure you're not like tipping your pitches or like opening up your shoulder or something like that. They're just basically putting in a plan B to say, oh, we know this is going to happen. And so we're going to put Cingrani in the bullpen to make sure that, okay, you're only going to get through 3 or 4 innings and then Cingrani's going to come in.
Yeah. And Cingrani.
You think that's what's happening?
Yes, I think that is what's happening. It's not.
So isn't that the manager's fault then? Isn't that the pitching coach's fault? Who do we blame for that?
Well, that's a good question. I think that it is a lot of people's fault. You can't really place the blame on one person here. Just the fact that scouting got the pitchers that we got, thought that they would do well. The fact that our pitching coach arranged that this has to happen. Really just the whole situation with it. It's not an ideal situation, of course.
Yeah.
But it's the type of thing that is so crazy that it might work like one of Joe Madden's strategies, like putting Anthony Rizzo in the first spot. You saw how that worked. Home run after home run after leadoff home run. Just Anthony Rizzo, he's a beast, and I'm just going to say.
Yeah, he is, but I mean, right now, you're playing the Milwaukee Brewers, and these Central games, and even though you're X amount of games under 500 as the Reds are right now, these games, I mean, if you're going to get back in this race and you're going to make it, I mean, again, we're rebuilding, but if you want this season to mean something, right now is the time to experiment. And if you're going to experiment and beat somebody, it's your NL Central opponents, correct? I mean, you want to beat them.
Of course.
Of course.
And I'm just saying that I think we're in a better situation than the Pirates are right now. Because they're kind of in a weird spot with Andrew McCutchen and Starling Marte, and their best year was 2012 when they finally went to the postseason for the first time in 20 years, I think.
Okay.
Back when they had Pedro Alvarez and Andrew McCutchen was MVP. Starling Marte was, I mean, he was the same. They had Russell Martin. They had Neil Walker. All these really good players played for the Pirates, and they were able to beat the Reds in 2013. And, they were just a good team. And then those players started to gradually leave, and now they're kind of in a weird spot, still having Andrew McCutchen, all these trade rumors surrounding him, Starling Marte being a really good player, but him still being pretty young. And very few young guys coming up, so they kind of have to rely on 30-something-year-old players who are just all right. So I think that we are in the better spot than the Pirates at the very least.
Yeah. I think we need to change something, obviously, with the Reds, and I think it's going to be on Brian Price's shoulders, clear at the end of the season. that's going to be his weight to bear. So we'll see coming up. We got a lot to talk about outside of the Reds, but
let's move on to the NBA. The NBA, the draft just happened. Markelle Fultz got drafted number 1 by the 76ers.
which was expected.
Yeah, I expected it. You
Okay.
expected it. Everybody expected it.
Yeah, which happened.
And then Lonzo Ball got picked by the Lakers. I gotta say, Lonzo Ball is going to be very interesting in the NBA. He just will be.
His whole family is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
This is a sideshow. I'm sick
Pretty
of
much.
it, dude. Like, this is nuts. Like, his dad is such an entertainer, right? And then his younger siblings too.
Yeah.
They're in it too. This big baller brand is just erupting, and every chance they get to be on any sort of show, they take it, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
Do you realize?
No matter what.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what. And what that no matter what was, just this past Monday, I believe, that LeVar Ball and his family, like Lonzo and his little brother, like Lamar, I forget his, excuse me for his younger brother's name, they were on the WWE. They literally came out, and LeVar Ball took off his shirt. It was a sideshow.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I mean, I understand why he's doing it. He wants to do it for the money, the publicity, to get the big baller brand up. I mean, sell shoes or whatever heck you want to do for $800 to get the big baller brand out there. But it's at the end of the day, the number 2 overall pick is Lonzo Ball, and they pick him for his talent to run the point. He's going to have to see the court. He's going to have to pass. He's going to have to be, like, honestly, in my opinion, a Russell Westbrook type of guy for the Lakers. If he's not, he's going to be a disappointment.
I think that, well, LeVar Ball and the whole big baller brand is going to be, like, more of a sideshow. It's going to be more about the publicity and the money. I'm very interested to see how it will be in the NBA, because it's either going to be a total disaster or it's going to actually work. It's the type of thing that's so crazy, like a Joe Madden thing or the Reds bullpen, that it could work. And I don't know if it is, but it could.
Well, it is working. It's working for publicity. It's working to get him in the spotlight. He didn't get the second overall pick because of his dad. He got the second overall pick because he did well in the tournament at UCLA.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people that said, well, why didn't you pick De'Aaron Fox, who went in the top 10 as well? Well, De'Aaron Fox beat Lonzo Ball head-to-head twice. And he made him look silly, quite honestly. So, I don't know. We're going to have to find out. I just think that locally, here in Cincinnati, I'm pretty proud of Luke Kennard.
Yeah.
Luke Kennard from Duke, picked 12th by the Pistons. Really proud of him because at Franklin, where he went to high school, he was such a stud there, averaging more than 30 points a game.
Yeah.
And when he came out of Duke, I thought he was going to be a really one of these guys that stay for 4 years. And I don't know why. It was just like my intuition. He seemed like a studious kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt like that too.
But he really emerged his second year there as a sharpshooter. Like, this guy is nuts. Like, he'll throw up anything, I feel like, and it'll go in. I mean, he averaged close to 20 points, and that doesn't sound like 19.5 points a game. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. Like, you think about, I mean, Russell Westbrook. I mean, he averaged close to 37 points a game or something like really nuts like that. But Kennard shot 44% from three-point range, right? And he tested really well in the combine. And I think that's really what the Pistons looked for when he was doing different things like vertical leap, standing vertical leap. He had one of the best vertical leaps. He had the fastest three-quarter court sprint time and one of the quickest times in combine history for that.
I think it's safe to say that Luke Kennard's going to be a very good player in the NBA. I'm not so sure about all the guys who got picked in the first round or early in the first round or whatever, but I do think Luke Kennard is going to be a leader. I have a feeling he's going to be like a Jason Kidd type of leader. You know?
I can see that.
He can propel an offense. He's just a solid player, getting assists, shooting when he has to and knocking it down. Yeah. Just a real leader for the Pistons. And I think that the Pistons really needed a guy like him. And I can see the Pistons doing well in the next few years with a guy like Luke Kennard.
And it's just when the NBA needs shooters. Like, if you're going to be successful in the NBA, and any professional sport, obviously, you need to be the best at your craft. And the craft that you need to be best in is shooting. in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like you could be a decent dribbler, you can be an assist guy, you could be 7'6" and be able to dunk the ball. But if you can shoot, you can find a place anywhere in the NBA, right?
Yeah, especially if you can make your own space.
Which he can. He's quick.
Yeah.
And these combine stats show that.
All the great players in the NBA, like all the great point guards and small forwards and shooting guards, they've all been able to create their own space and make a great shot or a good shot or even just enough of a shot to put it in, like Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan or, any of these guys. They were always able to create their own shots and they were able to shoot. And by doing whatever fancy moves that they had to Allen Iverson or, whatever.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And he's one of those guys that I think is going to surprise. And I just hope he stays a class act. When you get in the NBA, sometimes you get involved in some of the deals, like outside of, you got a lot of money now. People are coming after you for money. You get involved with some of these deals. You get involved with some of the wrong crowds. And Detroit, not necessarily the best town for, staying sane. There's a lot of temptation there. So hopefully he stays a class act, which I'm sure he is. I haven't met him, but I've heard a lot of great stories about him. And he stays a quality of character. So
one more thing I want to mention is that Sumner, yeah, he got drafted by the Pelicans. He was one of the last guys to get selected. He wasn't Mr. Irrelevant. He wasn't the last guy to get picked out of everybody, but he was one of the last guys to get picked. And then the very last thing announced in the draft after Mr. Irrelevant was that he got traded from the Pelicans to the Pacers for cash or something. But I just thought that was interesting because he's kind of staying close to Xavier.
Close to Xavier, yeah. And now with the whole thing of Paul George and the Pacers, I think he's going to replace him. He's not good enough as Paul George.
I think he's going to be like Samaje Christian. I think because Samaje Christian spent a lot of time in the D League, and when he finally did come up, he did well.
He did,
and now he's starting for the Thunder. I mean,
it takes time. It does take time for these type of players, right?
Yeah, and I don't know how long Samaje Christian spent there. I think he spent 5 or 6 years down in the D League, just trying to make his game really good. And now he's like 26, and he's finally playing NBA ball, and he's doing well.
Yeah, that's good. And let's talk about I want to add one more different thing about the fact that Luke Kennard was 12th overall. That's pretty high, right?
Yeah,
just right outside the top 10. But locally, that wasn't the highest draft pick for us.
No.
Do you know who was? No idea.
No idea.
Well, he's not too far down the road. It's not necessarily recent because you're still young, but 1999, Wally Szczerbiak was drafted 6th overall by the Timberwolves out of Miami.
Interesting.
You remember Wally Szczerbiak?
Nope.
No. All right, listeners, I'm sorry. Joey, I know you're a freshman, but Wally Szczerbiak, he's even on TV now. He does TV, I think, for like NBA TV.
I know him.
Or something. You do know him. He's an attractive guy. He's got like these spiky hairs, and he's always wearing like GQ stuff. I'm telling you, like he's got it together. And he was 6th overall. And then I don't expect you. I was 1 year old when this happened, but 86, it was Ron Harper.
Yeah, Ron Harper.
8th overall by the Cavs. You remember Ron Harper?
Yeah, I remember him.
Goodness, how do you not? I don't know. We're moving on. We're moving on. So just another little tidbit about the NBA. We talked about the draft a little bit, but let's talk about the awards. And some of the awards I just want to touch on. And obviously MVP was the go-to award that everyone was looking to. And Russell Westbrook won the award. And it wasn't a landslide, but he garnered 69 of the potential 101 first-place votes.
Pretty unsurprising, if you ask me.
I mean, the dude averaged a triple-double. The first person since Oscar Robertson, the 61-62 season to do that. I mean, the other two were Harden and Leonard.
Yeah.
James Harden and Kawhi Leonard.
Maybe a case for LeBron James.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, because he's LeBron James. I mean, come on.
And when you talk, and I don't want to get too much into this because I can get on my hot seat about what the MVP actually means, the most valuable player. And don't get me wrong, like someone who averaged a triple-double on your team, Russell Westbrook definitely deserved this.
Yeah.
But you look at, let's say, Isaiah Payton, right? Mm-hmm. From the Celtics.
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, not Peyton, Isaiah Thomas. What did I say? What did I say Peyton for? Isaiah Thomas from the Celtics, or even John Wall. He did that stuff during the playoffs that clearly MVP kind of caliber. And he was doing stuff during the regular season as well, because the MVP is a regular season award. There's a lot of, I mean, you can say Chris Paul is a most valuable player. I mean, without Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan doesn't get his due. He's not DeAndre Jordan without Chris Paul. Let's be honest with you. And you can say Anthony Davis, most valuable player there. Like, they weren't anything. Like, Cousins didn't add anything to the Pelicans when he came.
No, he didn't.
And he didn't. Absolutely not. And Paul George, you can, I mean, this whole MVP term, again, I'm not getting on my hot seat right now, but this MVP term could be garnered and established to other people around the league because of the value they put on their team individually as well. And I agree, like LeBron James and Westbrook should have been in this conversation, and Harden with all their statistics. But if you look at some of those other statistics, and I'm not going to get into them around the league, about what they meant to their teams, you could say that's MVP caliber.
Even with that, I think Westbrook should have won, and
No
he
doubt.
did.
No doubt.
I think he definitely deserved it. No doubt. I don't think anybody had any doubt that Westbrook should have won. He averaged a triple-double. Like, even with all his other stats, even if he didn't average a triple-double, I think that he still should have won. He just had an amazing year.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. The Thunder don't make the playoffs without Russell Westbrook.
No way. They're one of the worst teams in the league without Russell Westbrook.
Without a doubt.
Who do they have? Steven Adams?
And they got rid of Ibaka, too. So, I mean...
Exactly.
I mean, we could talk more about that. But let's just touch on a couple other things, too. Malcolm Brogdon. Do you remember Malcolm Brogdon from University of Virginia?
Yes.
I thought, like, he was just kind of like one of these overall really good players out of UVA that I thought was going to be a stud in the NBA. But he was a second-round pick. And I was like, why is this guy going so low? This guy is going to be a sleeper. And if we had a radio show last year, that would have been on it. I swear it would have been. Second-round draft pick, wins Rookie of the Year. Stud. And it was literally, he's the first time a second-round pick wins Rookie of the Year in the Common Draft era, which is since 1966. So the first player he was a second-round pick to get Rookie of the Year. That's pretty special, right?
Who did he play for?
Malcolm Brogdon?
Yeah.
Why did that slip out of my head? It was a northern team. Gosh, it wasn't the Timberwolves. I would say, I don't know, right off the top of my head. I know you asked that question, but I'm going to...
Raptors?
No. I don't know. I'll come back to it. Maybe we can look that up and fact check that. But right out of my head, it's like one of those things that that's like you have 5 fingers, but I can't remember how many fingers I have right now. Type of thing. But we'll move on. Just a couple other statistics I want to just touch on. Draymond Green, guess what he won?
Defensive Player of the Year?
Darn right he did. And doesn't he deserves it though?
Yeah.
First Golden State player to win that award. And why he deserves it is because he's been runner-up the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. I'm not so sure that he should have won Defensive Player of the Year this year.
What?
Dude,
Make
Kawhi
that
Leonard.
case. Make that
Kawhi
case.
Leonard. Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, but what I mean, okay, so steals, blocks, both had more. He had more than Kawhi Leonard, both of those. Okay, as a defensive player, I mean, offensively, yeah, you're talking like, but this is a defensive player award. Well, and plus he brings energy. Like that's an intangible. And don't get me wrong, Kawhi brings that too. I mean, we looked at when he went out in the playoffs. What happened to the Spurs? Golden State came back after like a 25-point deficit and won once he left. Don't get me wrong about the intangibles of Kawhi Leonard, but Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year, after being runner-up the last 2 seasons, he's clearly got a tenure of being a good defensive player. And finally win it this year. He deserved it.
Yeah, he deserved to win. I still do think Kawhi Leonard had a better defensive season this year, but I'm not trying to say that he didn't deserve it, that Draymond Green didn't deserve the award, because he certainly did.
You're right. Okay, so final one I want to really touch on is Mark D'Antonio, coach of the Rockets.
Yeah.
Right? He won Coach of the Year. He was the 8th coach to win the award multiple times. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you think about 8 coaches winning it multiple times. Like, is it really that hard to win? Like, is that a big statistic?
I was talking to you about this earlier, Patrick, but a lot of times I've realized that a lot of really good coaches over every single year, like Greg Popovich, they They don't seem to win. The NBA always focuses on like what new coach kind of springs out, and they're like, oh hey, you did really well this year, so we're gonna give you the award, and then somebody else does it the next year, and they're like, oh, we're gonna give you the award.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to see Coach of the Year being earned, twice or more.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And because the Rockets, without Dan and Tony, they really just have James Harden. Like,
I don't know about that.
well, that's not. I mean,
Patrick Beverley.
their only real superstar is James Harden. I mean, all their other players are good. They're like good, but they're not superstars like James Harden.
But then you get in the discussion of super teams and this whole idea of having like a big three or something like that, and not many teams have that.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, let's not get in the fact that like, oh, okay, maybe DeMarcus Cousins was like their big two or something for the Pelicans, and we get in the Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and LeBron James type of big three, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get in that conversation because I mean, there's value with coaches. Obviously, that's why you want a really tenured coach or someone with experience to run the. I mean, Phil Jackson. I'm not going to get on that. Who was obviously, I mean, today's news separated from the New York Knicks, but there's something about having a good coach establish a program. And what's really unique about this particular one is that D'Antoni did with two teams. Like Popovich has been with the Spurs for endless years.
Yeah, really. He's been there for 20 years. I think 20.
Something like that. I mean, more than I've been alive, it feels like. Which is I'm 31, which is clearly not 31. But anyway, so it's really unique because he won it with the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, back in the 04-05 season. And now he won it with the Rockets, too, bringing them back to light and having James Harden and a bunch of their supporting cast like Chandler Parsons as well. But the one statistic I want to give you about their performance in helping D'Antoni win this award is that remember how Golden State had such a great year last year?
Oh, yeah. They had an amazing year.
Right. They won 73 games. They broke that record. Their sharpshooting, I mean, we now have a term called like the Curry range, right? When he shoots it from like 40 feet out, right?
Is that a thing? Never heard of that.
It's I don't want to get off topic, but this big three competition you heard about where they have this like 4-pointer. Yeah. This is like when the announcer was doing the play-by-play, is like from Curry range. I'm thinking like, come on. Like, is this really going to be like his nomenclature now? Like, I don't know, but it's a thing. But anyway, the statistics I want to give you is that the Rockets broke Golden State's 3-point field goal record. So so they had 1,181 3-point field goals. Think about that. 1,181 3-point field goals. That's more than Golden State had last year. So you think about the Klay Thompsons, right? The Steph Currys, how many times they did it, and the supporting cast that did it as well. I mean, Sean Livingston didn't take a whole lot of threes last year, but Iguodala did. Yeah. I mean, everybody else, Draymond Green, heck, he freaking started a lot of the playoff games this year with a 3-pointer.
But the Warriors, they didn't really thrive on the 3-point shot. They had a lot of parts of their game, but the Rockets this year, they relied on the 3-point game. They didn't really do anything else. Mm-hmm. They just shot the three and they made it, and then they won. Mm-hmm. That was the story of their season. And I mean, that's kind of a, I guess, cheap way of winning, but I mean, not really, because, it's a strategy. Just give it out to James Harden. He shoots it. He makes it. You win. Mm-hmm. And all the other guys surrounding him, Patrick Beverley, as you mentioned, Trevor Ariza, I think, is still around. Mm-hmm. All these guys, they can all shoot the three. Like, they're big men, Trevor Ariza. He's a small forward and a power forward, but when he plays power forward, he can still shoot from out.
True. So congratulations to all those people. I just like naming those awards because I think, we're going to talk about the draft and the potential of some of these draft picks later on, but I think recognizing some of these people and what they did is more important. So that's why I want to touch base on a little bit more. So let's finish this up. Let's go payoff pitch time. So if we had like one of those ching noises here, maybe we can get that like a payoff pitch, like like a bat or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It would be cool. Maybe we can work with Kyle to get that.
Yeah.
But for now, let's finish with our payoff pitches here. And
okay, so once again, I'm going to talk about the Reds. This time, I'm talking about Bronson Arroyo, and his career is probably over after a bad start a week or so ago. And it looks like that he's just not going to have a career anymore. So I want to talk about, to you, Patrick, the legacy of Bronson Arroyo. How
Yes,
is
sir.
he going to go down?
Bronson, it's interesting because I have an interesting heart for Bronson Arroyo because I'm conflicted. I like what he's done with our Reds in the past, but I think he's going to be more this Cody Miller kind of guy, or like a Scott Rowland kind of guy, where he's going to be this veteran in the clubhouse and stick around. Like, he could be good, but right now, like, you're not. And so we want your leadership, and we want your knowledge about baseball. We want your camaraderie. We want that spirit in the clubhouse. But right now, you're not performing on the field, and his legacy is probably going to go down as like a really decent, not really good, but just a decent pitcher that got us through the years. Kind of like a Scott Rowland, who was a really good third baseman. Right, when he was with the Phillies, Scott Rowland was really good, and
he's a Hall of Famer,
without a doubt, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but when he came with
doubt.
the Reds, he wasn't Hall of Fame caliber. He decreased his talent year by year by year, and by the end of his tenure at Cincinnati, he was kind of like that bench coach kind of guy, that veteran.
In 2012, I remember that there was this one error at third when we were playing the Giants. We were up 3-0, and we had the chance to win the game, but there was a ground ball to Scott Rowland, could have been the final out, but he bobbled it, and the Giants scored, and they went on to win. So,
yeah, and that's what Arroyo could be. So tell us more about what your pitch is here.
Well, my pitch is that Arroyo, although he's been a decent player throughout the years with the Red Sox and the Reds and the Diamondbacks, he was more of a bad player, but he mostly has his career as a Red Sox and a Red. I think that he can stick around with the Reds ball club and become a good coach. I feel like he could be a good pitching coach. He could show the young guys how he pitched, how he made his strategies, and see if that could translate to the game, because it's felt like he's always been like an old mind, like he's always had that Bronson Arroyo wisdom. And he's always been able to teach younger guys about how he's managed to play, because, of course, he was with that 2004 Red Sox club that came back from behind, beat the Yankees, then went on to beat the Cardinals in the World Series. And he's just always been a good player. He was actually the last player that was on that squad that hadn't retired yet. So
yeah, that's good. No, I understand. That's a good pitch, man. So what are you saying is that Arroyo now is just done? Last game?
Yeah,
we're not going to see him ever again?
Nope. I think that's it for his career, honestly. I would like to say that Bronson Arroyo could come back and maybe, just have one more season that's pretty good. Like David Ortiz had his best year of his career was his last one. And I would like to say that Bronson Arroyo could have a very good year, but I feel like that's just not an option at this point. Bronson Arroyo's career, he already had one last chance, coming to the Reds this year. And I think that his future is being a coach, or even just not doing that. So let's transition, Patrick. We talked about my pitch. Let's talk about yours.
Okay, so good job on your payoff pitch, Joey. And as we end here for our Wednesday segment for the payoff pitch, my pitch is tonight. And actually today, as you mentioned, we're going to have a busy sports day.
Yeah.
We have the Cincinnati Reds in town battling the Milwaukee Brewers, and then 8 p.m. tonight, ESPN2, FC Cincinnati soccer team playing the Chicago Fire.
And it's important to mention that it's on ESPN. It's on ESPN2.
ESPN2, right.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. There's outside of the finals, ESPN has not put a quarter-round match or any type of match, semifinal match, on national television. This is a huge deal.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Huge deal. So the Chicago Fire MLS team.
Yeah.
FC Cincinnati, not an MLS team.
Not yet.
Well, this is only the second year we've been in existence.
That's true.
This is incredible. So Cincinnati is not known as a soccer town. We're known as a baseball town.
Yeah.
And some people might even debate that we're even an NFL town. Like the we've had recent playoff history with the Bengals, but we haven't won a championship with the Bengals in a long time. I don't
or
think,
ever.
Yeah. or ever. We've been in the Super Bowl, and we should have beat the. That's another story. Gosh, I'm still like angry about that Niner stuff. But anyway, yeah. So the FC Cincinnati game tonight, after the 4 p.m. game for the Reds, we're going right into the 8 p.m. at Nippert Stadium. Nippert Stadium is going to be raucous. This FC Cincinnati has had a great year and has had a couple great years. Selling out Nippert Stadium, 30,000 plus people. They get more people in that stadium than the UC Bearcats football team do on a regular basis. And I've been to an FC Cincinnati game, a couple, and I've really enjoyed my experience there. There's a lot. I mean, everybody's engaged, right? And so now it's the U.S. Open Cup, and their campaign they started back in May, I believe, not too far long ago, and in their second round match, they played defending National Premier Soccer League champion AFC Cleveland, and they beat Cleveland extra time with a goal. And they've had a lot of great opponents.
Oh yeah,
like
a lot of great opponents, the Columbus Crew and now the Chicago Fire.
Right, Crystal Palace from overseas. We're going to try to get
I didn't even know about that.
Oh yeah, Crystal Palace came in, and we played them. And you mentioned the Columbus Crew. Huge victory for us. I mean, who thought an MLS team could come into Cincinnati? And I mean, quite honestly, if you think about where the position they are with FC Cincinnati and the pressure that they think that's on them, the pressure's honestly on the MLS team. Yeah. Because they have to beat this team. They have to beat them. It's like, okay, let's say if the Cleveland Cavaliers come in and try to play the UC Bearcats.
Yeah.
Like, the UC Bearcats are not going to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers.
So the Cavs have, especially if like the Bearcats have shown that they can beat good teams, then the Cavs are like, oh, we actually have to bring our A game and can't slack off. Yeah,
and so, I mean, the Fire has advanced in this cup pretty easily. They even rested most of their starters the last game.
Yeah.
So they have a robust roster coming in, and who knows? They might be playing. They might be kind of scared. Honestly, they saw. I mean, quite honestly, I know you're laughing at that, but when you beat an MLS team,
I'm
the Columbus Crew is a good soccer team. People in Columbus that are from Columbus go to the Crew games, and they think they're very highly of their team. So when they play people like from the Cincinnati, they want to beat them. It's a big deal. So the Chicago Fire is got a lot of pressure, in my opinion, on them tonight at 8 p.m.
Definitely.
I think it's going to be. I wish I was going. The FC Cincinnati is undefeated in 8 of its last 9 outings in all of its competition. They're 6-1-2, and they're playing some of the best soccer they've played. They got a new coach.
Yeah.
They're playing the best soccer under him, and it's going to be interesting because we talked a little bit about Joe Madden and what he does with his crazy concoctions coming up with his starting lineup and whatnot.
I would talk about some of the things he did with the Rays, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
But my analogy here is that what the head coach for FC Cincinnati has done in their win over Columbus Crew is that he went away from some of the things and formation-wise. He went to a 3-5-2 formation that was brand new for them, and it worked.
Wow.
And they stayed with their discipline, and that's the discipline that hopefully we're going to see tonight at 8 p.m. on ESPN2, and the bars around Clifton are going to be rocking. Downtown are going to be rocking. People are going to want to see a near flawless execution from the FC Cincinnati soccer team tonight.
And we'll see if that happens. I mean, nothing's for certain. I would love to see FC Cincinnati like destroy the Fire, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and the Chicago Fire SC, they are doing well in the MLS too. It's not like this is a pushover team. They're playing against really good competition, and they're beating good competition too. They have 11-3-4 record. They're second place in the MLS Supporters Shield standings. This is something fun. It's going to be great. ESPN2 Nippert Stadium at 8 p.m. You can also listen to it on ESPN 1530 radio. And where can you listen to us, Joey?
And with that, I think that'll do it for this week's edition of the Payoff Pitch. I hope that you will be able to check us out on TuneIn Radio, download the TuneIn Radio app, and check out our YouTube page, Clark Montessori. Check out the radio and subscribe, and of course, check out 95.7 MRC, Cincinnati's new music, for more Payoff Pitch.